Well, and the other thing was, I don't know what it was like, but I mean, I couldn't see out my window till about a half hour ago. It was so foggy. So I'm not going to force people to, I'm like if you can't see to drive out of your driveway, I don't want you to whatever. It wasn't foggy in Snellville? No, it was in Atlanta. Yeah, it was like looking at a white sheet out my window today. I like the way you think. I don't care. All right, all right, all right. I'm burning some hypothetical sage right now and purging the atmosphere as we come into a place of gratitude, and we are grateful. We're grateful for all of our children. No. We're still thankful for them in all of their imperfections. It's all good. God bless them, everyone. Let's please remain standing, and we'll start the official. Please.
Good morning, and welcome to Metron. Metron is measure or sphere of influence, and we want to help you find your Metron through motivation, enlightenment, transcendence, renewal, outreach, and networking. Today is your day to find your Metron, and we hope you enjoy the service.
Good morning, Metron people. Give yourselves a big hand for being here. Those of you, I got a hand and a woo. That's a good sign. Those of you who are logging on, we welcome you. It's foggy in Atlanta today, but you found your way. You cut through the fog. I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. We did, and we're just continuing it on. We're still thankful today. Glad to have Dr. Sheila's family with us today, ladies. We're glad to have you, and for everybody that's on their way, and those of you that are just logging on, wherever you are in the universe, we welcome you. It is a beautiful day, and it is all good, and we are grateful. Thanksgiving is going through a lot of changes right now with people's perceptions of it and the origins of it, that sort of thing. But whatever the case, and this has nothing to do with pilgrims and indigenous people. The fact that we have a day set apart on the calendar that it's for gratitude, I see as a positive thing. Wherever you are on the on your perception of its origins, that's your journey. But to say there's a day that we're setting aside to remind us to be thankful, I see that as a good thing. And I hope yours was enjoyable. I was glad to watch the parade from the warmth of my living room on my sofa, because I have been there in person before, and it's real chilly. Everybody should do it once, put it on your bucket list, but that's not a two-time thing you ever do. You're like, okay, saw the balloon, going inside. But and those of you who have gone vegetarian and vegan this year, I suppose you figured it out. So wherever you are, we're all things here. We got carnivores and vegans, conservatives and progressives. We're all together in one mind and one accord. Makes a beautiful tapestry. If I will stop speaking, I can introduce our guest who's been with us this month, and he always brings a very special and unique energy to Metron. I was so glad we could have him for these weeks. So without any further ado, would you please welcome the one, the only, Marshall Ruffin. Marshall, come in, do your thing.
fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by. Oh, I fly away. Oh, so glad and happy when we meet. Oh, you know I'll fly away. Oh, no more cold iron shackles on my feet. Oh, when you know I'll fly away. Oh, I'll fly away. Oh, glory. I'll fly away, Lord, in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by and by. Oh, I'll fly away. Just a few more weary days and then, oh, I'll fly away. No, to a land where my joys will never end. I fly away. Oh, fly away, oh, Gloria. Fly away, Lord, in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by and by. Every evening I have seen has been long and has been lean, from back when Mama cooked her hope into the family pan, washed it out with her feet in the sand, and Papa sowed his fear into barren clay. brothers and sisters faded away, but I remain here reverently. Yeah, the Holy Ghost got plans for me. And every single morning I have read the only book that's better than bread, for putting back a power to a withering hand and burying the burden of a wandering man. Even though my path has been so hard to find, been covered in the earth, been covered in the vine, I know that the way is the remedy. Yeah, the Holy Ghost got plans for me. I said, keep your eyes to the sun. We are seekers, everyone, and though our time is sure to end in elegy, oh, fear no death by beast or man, for the shores of the promised land, those repentant and redeemed are bound to see. Said, even though my blessings they may be few, there's got to be some good working left to do. So I will wait here reverently. Yeah, the Holy Ghost got plans for me. Keep your eyes to the sun. Raise your voices, everyone, till they're ringing out over every corner of stone and sea. For soon the chariot will roll on down the lane. The angels are hollering out thy name to please thee with him in raising verity. Oh, said, even though my blessings they may be few, there's got to be some good working left to do. Oh, I will raise the reverie, and the Holy Ghost got plans for me. I said that even though my blessings they may be few, Lord knows there's got to be some good working left to do. Oh, I will wait here reverently. Yeah, the Holy Ghost got plans for me. This is the day that the Lord has made. Oh, I will rejoice, for He has made me glad. Oh, He has made me glad. He has made me glad. Oh, I will rejoice, for He has made me I will sail across the sea with thanksgiving in my heart. Oh, and I will stand on His shores with praise. Oh, and I will say, this is the day that the Lord has made. Oh, I will rejoice, for He has made me glad. He has made me glad. Oh, He has made me glad. Oh, I will rejoice, for He has made me glad. Oh, He has made me glad. He has med me glad. Oh, I will rejoice, for He has made me glad.
Marshall, let everybody stand up and sing that with you one time. Sing one more chorus of it, because we need to say that with you.
He has made me glad. He has made me glad. Oh, I will rejoice, for He has made me glad. Oh, He has made me glad. Oh, He has made me glad. Oh, I will rejoice, for He has made me glad.
Yeah, Marshall Ruffin. Good stuff. He has made me glad. I love it. I love it. I love it. Follow Marshall on Instagram and on Facebook so you'll know when he's doing local concerts. If you ever seen him in concert, I've seen him a couple of times. It's really a whole other vibe, and it's really it's awesome. Thanks again for being here, bud. Once again, tell him how much we appreciate him being here. Beautiful. And then you may be seated. Corey Lamont, or Choreology is his stage name. He's going to be with us for December. Did any of y'all go to Chandra's concert last night? Okay, I haven't seen any things posted from it, but I'm sure it was good. Well, I'm glad you are here today, and I'm thankful for you. I posted, I guess the night before Thanksgiving. I was just thinking about all of y'all and how grateful I am for you. I'm grateful that I can come in here as your friend for a minute and vent and tell you what happened during my week, and then I can switch hats and, you know, do the spiritual stuff. That's very meaningful to me, and so I thank you for that. And for some reason, the thing that was really in my spirit was I posted pictures from the 3 meditation weekends that we've done. There's something about sharing sunrises and sunsets with people. I can't explain it, but it's the reason why when people are in love, they go out and watch the sunset together. There's something about the energy of people that you're connected to. You want to see that phenomenon together. And it's kind of a holy thing. It's more than just the meditation. It's specifically seeing those sunrises and sunsets together. I think it bonded us in a way this year that I don't know that anything else could have. And when I put those pictures together and just looking at them, I thought, wow, it's cool. I mean, it's hard to get up that early in the morning, whatever, but it's worth it. And it's just beautiful. And you know, in Cherokee the other day, it was cold in the morning, but it was worth it. It was just, you can't get that same experience at 11 o'clock or at noon. There's just something about it has a special energy on it, and I'm glad I've been able to share those with you today. Our next one, I guess we'll go ahead and lock it in now because several of you have already gotten your place to stay. I haven't even scheduled a place yet, but I think Ernie and Avery are staying at the lodge up there. It's a nice place. We've been there to eat, but we're going January 19th and 20th to Unicoi State Park, and it's right outside of Helen's. I mean, it's right there. So I don't think you'll have any challenge finding a place, but so go online if you want to stay at the lodge. I haven't decided yet. I'll look at it tomorrow. But I've eaten at the lodge, and it's nice. So I got ahead of myself. I'm already into January and haven't even talked about December yet. So let me back that up. But thanks for staying with me, Michelle. You never know. Just when you think I'm going December, I throw you a January. You got to be, you got to be on your toes. So December is here. What? Christmas Day is a month from today. What? Why am I even surprised? Man, every lap you make around that sun, it's just going faster and faster. Anyway, our Christmas event is December the 18th. It's on a Tuesday night. It's going to be at the Rhodes Hall, which is also called the Castle on Peachtree. You can buy your tickets online. Most of you have already done that, so thank you. It helps us kind of get an idea of who's going to be there. Judah will be with us. He's going to be leading us and kind of doing a DJ thing and doing Christmas karaoke. So this could be your big break. We've got the judges from The Voice and American Idol coming together, so you never know. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then on the 23rd, Sunday the 23rd, we will not be here in the theater. We're going to be combining services with Spirit and Truth Sanctuary. Pastor D.E. and I are going to do team teaching together. I'm glad it worked out to be the Sunday before Christmas because that's a very special time. We had a great time last year when we got together. Again, can't believe that was a year ago. All right, I need to stop saying that. It's making me sound old. I was posting pictures today. In my memories was my Christmas tree from last year, and people were commenting. I thought, this is even current pictures. I haven't even we got it. We put it up because Ken wasn't supposed to leave, but he came Thursday night, and I said, will you just at least help me put it up there, and we'll figure out decorating it later, because you don't realize, even in that picture, how big it is. I forgot how big it was. We put it up and said, good Lord, was this thing that big last year? Well, where did we walk? But anyway, I have one ornament on it. Because he's been on call all week, and I'm like, I don't want to do this by myself. And he asked me last night, he said, have you decorated the tree? I was like, no. It's got one. I bought the Varsity's new. It actually kind of looks good with just one on there. But Francis gave me some new ones today, so that's going to inspire me. Let's see. I think that was everything I need to announce for December. Our challenge this week was show your gratitude, and several of you participated in that. I don't know if Avery put anything together. Oh, yeah, she did. It was Samantha Rose with her daughter, and that was Fro and Margot flying to their hometown. That was me walking yesterday. It was BJ's parents. That was Patricia. It was a cool effect that she did. That was Brenda being thankful for her place. So, Avery, if you're streaming, wherever y'all are today, thank you for putting that together. And I'm going to do the challenge again this week as another health challenge. And this isn't even something I'm personally committed to. What? I've just, I don't even know that everybody needs to be gluten-free. I was reading about it this morning. Some people actually, it's not necessary for them. It's most people who have, was it celiac disease? Is that what they call it? I just like to use these challenges for you just to explore some ideas. I'm not gluten-free. It's hard to find. I mean, it's like I bought some bread recently that it said it had organic gluten in it, but there was nothing in the store. I'm sure places like Whole Foods probably would have it. But, I mean, don't get legalistic about it. I just like to put some of these things out there just to give you some ideas. And there are a lot of grains, things like quinoa and stuff, that have no gluten in them. So you can eat that and just post a picture of it. I like to use these things kind of as learning exercises to kind of see, oh, well, that would be like what that would be like. Some people say they lose weight by going gluten-free. It's not guaranteed that it. If you don't know what it is, it's a compound of proteins that are in some kind of dough to give it elasticity, and most of it's processed. It's not the gluten so much as it is processed food, things that have chemicals in them. That's what's really dangerous for you, and so don't stress over it. But you know, you can. I tell you, Siri. I depend on Siri so much because, well, even when I'm watching the news, sometimes they'll use a word that I'm not sure what that word is. Siri, what define so and so, and then like that, they give you the definition. It's very, and like this morning, I said, Siri, what's gluten? And she tells me like immediately, you know, this is what she found. And so sometimes it's just opens a new neuropath in your brain to think about food differently. So that's your challenge for this week. And again, believe me, it's not like I'm saying I'm Mr. Gluten-free, because it's a challenge. I did notice with I'm not doing Stephen's food thing, but I noticed that their food included gluten-free pancakes. I thought that was kind of interesting. And so just let you know there's options. Our outreach this month, of course, was to the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh. And like I told you before, the violence in our country is insane, but there's something about when a specific people group is targeted that puts it in even in another category. Like the Mother Emanuel shooting was, the guy specifically was targeting African Americans, and the guy that did the shooting in the club in Orlando specifically targeting LGBT people, and this guy specifically was targeting Jews. So you know, it's gracious little we can do, but at least it's something, at least acknowledging and pushing back the darkness. So that's where is going to this month. And next month, like I said, our outreach will be to Spirit and Truth, because when I go, I like to take an offering with me. So I believe that's got you caught up on everything. Is that right? Is that everything I needed to tell you? Yes. All right. Are we ready for the invasion of the podcast people? Welcome to the Metron Live podcast, coming to you live from beautiful, historic Midtown Atlanta. It's just gorgeous this time of year. You know, the trees, well, first of all, welcome the podcast people. Welcome. The trees were later than usual this year, but honestly, I don't remember them being more beautiful. They're so vivid in those deep, rich colors. Even this late in the year, they're gorgeous. So wherever you are listening to this, if you've never been to A-Town, you should check it out. I love the city. Last night I went out to Ken's family's Thanksgiving, and where he works is out in Greensboro, but where his niece lives is even further out. I mean, he even got lost. We kept driving and driving. I said, where the heck are we going? And anyway, I can't believe how many deer were out, and there were dead deer in the road, and deer was about to dart out. I said, this is why people need to live in the city where it's safe. There's no deer darting out in front of your car in little 5 points. It's just some homeless guys asking you. Oh, yeah, that's out on his nephew's back porch. It's not finished yet, but it's big. They got a big fire pit, and it's cool. That's his son Brandon, that's his son Nathan, and his little granddaughters, and there were more people. They were inside getting the food together. Eventually, we were supposed to eat at 5. We ate at 7:30. So there's that. Note to self: don't go to dinner hungry already. You'd think I would know that by now. But anyway, it was all good. Now the podcast people are saying we can't see what you're showing there, so my apologies. I'm finishing up a series this month, the title of which is taken from the 91st Psalm, is The Secret Place of the Most High, the Manifested Miracles of the Meditative Life. And something happened yesterday. When I tell you these things, I don't think I have to convince you of my truthfulness, but there are some things that happen that they nearly sound too good to be true. And this happened yesterday, and there's no embellishment to this story, but I walked up to the Starbucks there on Peachtree that I go to some mornings. I was going to work on my outline for today, and there's a table that I like. I like to get my coffee and work on my outline. And it was just like I imagined it. The table was available and ready, and it was all good. So I was thinking about this verse of Scripture, which let me go and show you. This is the 91st Psalm. Let me refer to it once again. It's Psalm 91, verse 1, and this is in the Amplified Classic. This is Moses' psalm that says, he who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall remain stable and fixed under the shadow of the Almighty, whose power no foe can withstand. I've used this verse a lot this month, but I like to look at it in different translations. I like to hold the diamond up and let the light catch the different facets. And sometimes a different translation will use a different word that will give you some insight that you didn't have before. So I'm looking at this verse of Scripture, and I'm just looking at it. I'm looking at it on my screen. I'm thinking, what more do I want to say about this? And suddenly the energy was on the word abide. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. So I was thinking about that word and what does that mean? And I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, oh, that's similar to the word abode. Abode is where you live. So that's how I'll end this series. I'll talk about lifestyle. Meditation is a lifestyle. It's not just going to a retreat or us if we do it here. It's something that you learn to do. You learn to breathe a certain way, and when you change the way you breathe, you change the way you process information. So, all of my channels are open. When I'm kind of in that mode, I'm like, okay, Spirit, what do I say? Where's the energy on this? And while I'm looking at it, I guess you call it muzak. No, it's not muzak. They're playing Christmas songs. So I'm looking at it, and first I hear Lena Horne sings Little Drummer Boy. And I'm halfway looking at that, and I think, I didn't know Lena Horne covered that. It's interesting. So I'm, listening to that kind of halfway, still thinking about the word abide. What do I want to say about it? And I'm looking at, I go online to the lexicon, looking into Hebrew, a lot of different shades of meaning. Even the word haunt is one of the, it's just unusual definitions, which I love words, so I'm looking at that. Now it's Judy Garland singing Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. So I'm thinking, I wonder if is that a DVD they're selling? Or that's got some good covers of some stuff. And, I love Christmas music. I just posted my playlist that's got, right now it has 125 songs on it. And I think if you have Apple Music, you can just add it to yours. So that's a lot of fun putting that together. And so I'm listening to Christmas music. And then all of a sudden, this thing happens that I've never experienced at Starbucks before. My maternal grandfather was old school Pentecostal. He only went to the 3rd grade. He was illiterate, but he had this sort of amazing Smith Wigglesworth type John G. Lake apostolic miracles, and his gift really made room for him. He ended up going around the world. He met, I used to always hear them say he met with the King of England, and the king talked to him about tithing. And so I asked my uncle about a year ago, I said, where would he have, who was the King of England? Who it was after Elizabeth's uncle abdicated the throne, her father became king, and they made a movie about him a couple of years ago called The King's Speech, because he had a speech impediment. Well, he was in the Bahamas, and he heard about my grandfather, and he wanted to meet him. So I thought it was just something that my family made up. Granddaddy met the King of England. I'm like, when was it? I mean, Elizabeth has been the queen since the 50s. Well, sure enough, he did meet him, and he wanted to ask him how he got people to give up. He was interested in tithing. How do you get people to free will give 10% of their income? So he did meet with. So Granddaddy had this amazing kind of just unusual miracles. Like I remember my dad. You got to give me a second. I'm feeling his presence really strong. He's just been with me a lot this week. The church where I had my first I have memories. My dad built this church that had mahogany benches, and the churches we built back then always had altars, or what they called mourners benches. They were made out of the same kind of wood that the pews were, but it was a place where people could go kneel and pray. And this had 2 mahogany wood mourners benches, and they were super heavy. Like I remember if we ever did an event where they had to clear the space, it would take like 6 men to pick one up and move them out of the way if we did like a Christmas thing or something. Well, my granddaddy, who was probably 5'6", just plucky little Bantam rooster kind of guy, he's preaching, and I remember this, because I was 4 or 5. He's preaching, and he was like at the just top of his lungs preaching. I'm getting back to Starbucks. I have to tell you this for this to make sense, because this is very significant. He's preaching about Samson picking up the gates, and when he picks one of those things up, and you could hear a gasp from the crowd, like, "Oh my God, don't do that!" And he picked it up and walked back and forth and preached about Samson. I mean, it was a sign and wonder. Everybody was just like, even at my age, I remember everybody just going. And it's nearly like when it was over with, he kind of didn't even remember it happening. All right, so I've always kind of been fascinated with his life, and he couldn't read, but my grandmother read the Bible to him so much that he actually memorized the scripture to the point that he was billed. I've seen these posters from the 30s where he was billed as the walking Bible. He would go in and quote entire chapters of the Bible. And so when I used to quote, like when I would do Washed by the Word and stuff, family members would always say, "You're channeling Granddaddy." Like that's, okay. What's interesting is I never heard him say this, but in the last few years, anytime we've been together with my aunt and uncle, and we've been, like when Carlton Pearson comes down, we'll stand around the piano, we'll sing. My uncle or my mom will always say, "Let's please do Daddy's favorite hymn." And his favorite hymn was "Abide with Me." Now, what's interesting about that is Abide With Me is not a Pentecostal type song. Every time they say that, I'm like, really? That was his favorite hymn? That doesn't sound like him. Now, this is kind of nuanced, so those of you that sort of don't know where I came from might not appreciate this, but the world I grew up in was loud and boisterous and tent revival and sawdust trail and a lot of clapping the hands. And so we considered hymns nearly being too highbrow for us. You know what I mean? Hymns were uppity. Hymns were, liturgical. We were, power in the blood, victory in Jesus, rock and roll. Gospel, gave birth to rock and roll. All those, like Chuck Berry and Little Richard, all those guys, they all came out of gospel music. And really all that early 50s rock and roll was just basically gospel moved up tempo with different lyrics. So I always thought that's so interesting that his favorite hymn was Abide With Me. It makes me think maybe who everybody saw that he was really wasn't who he was. That's just an unusual, I would have never thought that would have been his favorite hymn. So it's become this thing in the last few years. Every time we're together, somebody will always say, in honor of Granddaddy, let's sing Abide With Me. That's not even a hymn I grew up with very much. It's Abide with me, fast falls the eventide. The darkness deepens, Lord, with me abide. I don't even know the lyrics to it. It wasn't in our lexicon. So I'm sitting there yesterday. I'm looking at the word about my hand to God. I'm sitting there. I hear Little Drummer Boy. Before that was What Are You Doing New Year's Eve? I think Diana Krall was singing that. I hear Judy Garland. It's all Christmas music, Christmas, Christmas. And suddenly, as I'm looking at the word abide, they start playing an instrumental of Abide With Me. I've never heard Starbucks play a hymn, and Abide With Me is not a Christmas song. So I'm thinking, what? I thought for a minute, am I imagining this? I'm looking at the word abide, I'm thinking about Granddaddy, and his song starts playing in Starbucks. So I sat there and listened to it. I thought, this is a trip. This is not just a fluke. It's not. If it had been his favorite Christmas carol, then I'd say, well, that could have happened because, But no, it was Abide With Me. That has nothing to do. I looked at the lyrics online and thought there's nothing even about the incarnation in this. So this is irrelevant to Christmas music. And when it was over, they went right into Nat King Cole singing the Christmas song. It was just this really strange moment, and I felt his presence, and I got revelation for what I want to talk about today. It was just a window opened. I'm very aware that but wait, there's more. So I get my outline pretty much done. I think I got a couple more things I want to tweak, but I've been sitting here long enough. I'm gonna walk back home. Get my stuff packed up, walk back home, sit down to finish my outline. I turn on the TV, and on TCM, Turner Classic Movies, they're showing The Blob, the science fiction movie from 1958, which I've seen bits and pieces of, but I've never seen it from the beginning. So I thought I'm interested in it. It's real kitschy, and Steve McQueen is in it, and the woman that played Andy Griffith's girlfriend, Miss Crump, she's in it, and so I'm just looking at it as an oddity, and I'm like, wow, interesting. And in the opening, the opening credits, it says music by Ralph Carmichael. I thought, is that the Ralph Carmichael, who was kind of considered the father of contemporary Christian music? He's, Donnie and Reba worked with him for a while. When they went to California, they were with Light Records, and he was the one. Now I went back and listened to it yesterday. He did this in 1969. He did a musical called "Tell It Like It Is," which was sort of the Christian version of Hair. It was very. I listened to the whole thing yesterday, and it's. I can see the influence of a musical like that, because it's just. They didn't take their clothes off in it, but you can just tell it's influenced by them. And so I thought, is that the Ralph Carmichael? So I Google him, and on Wikipedia, sure enough, I'm reading all this stuff about him. I'm like, what? His ex-wife married Rolf McPherson, who's the son of Amy Seymour McPherson that started the Foursquare. I'm reading all this stuff and how that he was considered so controversial, because now you listen to this stuff and you think that was controversial. But at the time, like, he really introduced drums in churches and that kind of stuff. And not only in white churches, he's the one that he recorded The Blood Will Never Lose Its Power by Andre Crouch, and that's what skyrocketed. That took Andre Crouch out of just being in black churches and gave him an international platform, and gave him a white following as well. So, and he's still alive. He's born in 26, I think. I thought, did he die? What? So now I'm thinking about Ralph Carmichael. Oh, it's time to go to Eatonton. So I get in the car, plug it in. Hey, Siri, play Ralph Carmichael for me. Okay, here's hymns by Ralph Carmichael. Abide with me. And I sat and listened to the whole 4 verses of it. And I thought, if I hear this a third time today, it's gonna freak me out. Am I about to go to the other side? Is Granddaddy coming to get me? He's like playing his favorite. Like, I've never heard this song. This song is not in my mind at all. And this is in an hour, a space of an hour's time. I've connected the dots back to this a second time, to where I'm saying, Granddaddy, what are you trying to tell me to tell them about this? And it's the word abide. You know, you hear people who came from poverty and who have a lot in their background. They don't say, I live there. They go, that's where I stay. I stay. So he stays over there. It takes a while to change your perception and say, I don't stay here. I live here. Staying somewhere. And it's kind of become a colloquialism to say, you know, where do you stay? But it came out of people who didn't really have roots. Like, they didn't live anywhere. They just, you know, do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, these are people who are running from lynchings and running from, you know, horrible stuff. So they don't live anywhere. They stay. This is where I'm staying right now. It became a big deal when people started putting down roots and saying, I'm a homeowner. I live here. I'm a part of this community. And it's still a struggle. You know, it's still for people putting down roots. It's, you know, please allow me to say this, because it makes my point. What I'm trying to tell you this month is meditation is not some trendy thing that I got us into because I was bored with traditional theology. And I'll just tell you, if you Google, like, there's so many Christian like fundamentalist websites that go right down the line talking about stuff that I teach. Like, this is New Age, it's Hinduism, everything from, you know, stuff I've talked about, colors and color healing and light. You know, don't be careful, that's going to open you up to the devil. And you think, what? Why would that open you up to the devil? Why? Why would just being quiet? And I mean, really, do y'all think demons are that powerful that they're just waiting for you to shut up? For them, I'm like, it's really sad. Like, I'm not even offended by it. I feel pity. Like, how do you not know better than that? So, of everything that I've said this month, and I think I've said some important things. I think 2 weeks ago was another theological turning point for us, because we talked about the name Shaddai, who lives in Shaddai's shadow, the God who has breasts, and the God who says it's enough. So what it's saying is the God who says you can nurse for a while, but at a certain point I'm going to wean you off my breast and you become your own. There's no other way to say it. You become your own God. That was what his original purpose was. Let us make people in our image and let them be divine. The thing that's so warped and twisted about the modern evangelical church is it's adult people nursing at the breast of God. and it's wrong. We should have weaned off. We should know by now how to get it for ourselves. So when I talk about abiding, I'm not just talking about meditation. I'm talking about this has got to kick in and become a lifestyle for us. I'm not just trying to be hip, like what's the hip thing that you're into now? No, this is a lifestyle where you are settled down and you are established. You don't stay in the hood. You're a homeowner. You live, abode, abide, they're the same words. Secret place. Let me show you some scriptures. This is Psalm 91:1 in the Passion Translation. It says, when you sit enthroned under the shadow of Shaddai, you are hidden in the strength of Most High God. Let me show you this next one. This is Psalm 27:5, and I used this a couple of weeks ago about the secret of the Lord is with them that fear him. Here in the Passion Translation it says, in his shelter in the day of trouble, that's where you'll find me, for he hides me there in his holiness. He has, I love this, he has smuggled me into his secret place, where I'm kept safe and secure, out of reach from all my enemies. This is such an interesting choice of words in the Hebrew. Because when you smuggle something in, it's illegal. It's contraband. You're breaking the rules. Criminals smuggle stuff. So if your relationship with God is unconventional, even to the point that you can't explain it to some people, oh, you're all New Age, or you're all this, or y'all don't even preach about the cross anymore, or whatever. You don't understand. I've been smuggled in. I've come in under the radar, and I'm not even trying to convince you of my orthodoxy, because I'm in a secret place. This is this thing that happened yesterday wasn't just about my grandfather. It was about, I'm reading this article about Ralph Carmichael and how everything that he did, there was church people somewhere fighting him. Whatever it was, there were some church people against it. I remember the first time I ever heard Ralph Carmichael's name was when we moved back to Atlanta in 1970, and Dad took this church over here on the corner of Ponce and Piedmont. He was the associate pastor. And the first week we were there, the people of the church called this meeting, and they brought in the youth pastor because she had a youth choir, and she was doing a song from Tell It Like It Is, and people didn't like it. Because there's a song that says, what's God like? And it says these people that they say these little raps. It's all these people with these different skewed ideas of God. And like the first one guy says, when I saw God, he had a long white beard, and he brings me gifts at the end of the year. But the big ones come in the great by and by from the Santa Claus up in the sky. You have to hear the whole thing in context. Well, these people just heard it, and they were like, she's coming in here saying that God's Santa Claus. And I remember even at my age, I'm thinking, no, y'all don't understand the context of the song. Listen to the rest of the song. All these people, when I saw God, he was in a museum. You could go in to see him. It was all these people thinking this crazy stuff about God. And at the end of it, this woman sings, no, you've got it all wrong. God is love. God is light. It's not a great song, but it's not at all what... I remember I was driving home from church and Dad saying, we're gonna have to fire her because these people are, they're so irate. And I remember they put her on, like, you can't do Ralph Carmichael music. So mine's not about music so much, but I thought, buddy, I can totally relate to things that, well, you know who Nancy Harmon is. I remember back in the 60s. Now you hear her, and she's just like a gospel singer. Oh, I remember preachers getting that Nancy Harmon comes in there playing that rock and roll music with them electric guitars and them drums. It sounds like, savages dancing to the beat. And I remember a famous televangelist who had his own sex scandal years later. I remember him preaching that people can't listen to drums in church because it appeals to their sexual nature and it's going to make them be promiscuous. And I used to think, really, a drum beat? Just the beat, the rhythm of a drum? You know, if a drum beat's making you want to get busy, I think your problem is bigger than just. The first thing you hear is drums is like, well, I got to get it on with somebody. Like, wow, that's an interesting transition to make. And always know when somebody's really hammering about sex sin, they got some issues. So years later, after he had not one but 2 sex scandals, I thought, oh, this wasn't about drums. This is about you trying to deal with your own business. But I'm saying from this word abide, this is what I took from it. Because my grandfather, you know, his father was a free will Baptist preacher. And when Granddaddy was what they call baptized in the Holy Spirit, those people in South Georgia, they thought that was of the devil. Now, they didn't lynch Pentecostal preachers like they did black men, but they would run them out of town. And Granddaddy used to tell a story about they couldn't even have a church building. You had to preach in a brush arbor. Like they would go out in the woods and fashion a place. And when my Aunt Myrtle and Uncle Earl were babies, that Granddaddy was in a horse and buggy with my grandmother going to preach a revival. And the men of the town met them in the little lane. It's right where my parents have grave plots down there, right there on the sandy lane with like the Frankenstein monster. They have torches, and they're going to run him out of town. And his little guy, he gets out and just stands there, and they all break out into a fight and start beating the living daylights out of each other till they're all unconscious. And Granddaddy gets back in the horse and buggy and goes and preaches his revival. You know what that is? That's abiding. Yes. See, if you don't abide, that kind of stuff you'll just say, this is too hard. This is too difficult. You know, a homeowner thinks differently than a renter. When it's your house, you think about it differently, and you're responsible for it. So this wasn't just about, the hymn was definitely a signpost from the universe and from the other side, from the cloud of witnesses. But it's also teaching me about stay committed to what you believe is right. And when somebody says, well, I like when you preach, but I don't like when you bring up that gay stuff. I'm like, what do you mean that bring up that gay stuff? Like if I mention my husband, that's not gay stuff. That's my life. Don't let somebody shame you into, oh, I can't talk about that. No, the truth makes you free. That is my truth. Where does that come from? It comes from abiding. And where does meditation fit into that? I don't know how to explain what meditation does to you, but I'm telling you, it changes something in your cells. It changes something in your metabolism. It changes something in your DNA. I'm not schooled enough in this to explain it to you, but I know I am different from meditating, and that it's a lifestyle in that things that would have stressed me out before, even little things I was venting to y'all about, they weren't major deals. They were just like little frustrations. If you ask me, how was your Thanksgiving? I say, oh, it's fantastic. It was amazing. For me, I mean, Jonah just literally flew in from Europe to be there. And it's gotten so challenging with all 4 of my kids' moms and their grandparents that and to try to start that group text and try to corral them all in. A couple of weeks ago, I just said, here's what I'm doing. I'm going to Mom and Dad's house Thursday night, Thanksgiving night. If y'all can be there, that's great. If you can't, don't stress over it. I understand your lives are busy. And I meant it. They all showed up with girlfriends and extra friends. Jared even brought food. Jared said, I brought some food. I'm like, I'll take it. That was a first. And it was great, and we all took pictures. Were there some minor irritations? Yes. Was there some frustrations to it? Yes. Did I call off Thanksgiving? No, because I abide. And it's life. And those few minutes of having all of my kids with me, there's something about that synergy that I don't have if just 2 of them are there or if just 3 of them are there. It's when they're all there. Yeah, that was us going around the room and saying what we were thankful for. And to be able to easily get everybody together with all of their schedules, it's kind of like walking on water. When, Mom said, well, let me know who's coming. And I said, believe it or not, they're all coming. It's like the planets lined up. How did that happen? Let me show you another scripture. This is Psalm 31:20, also in the Passion Translation. It says, so hide all your beloved ones in the sheltered secret place before your face. Overshadow them by your glory presence. Keep them from these accusations, these brutal insults of evil men. Tuck them safely away in the tabernacle where you dwell. In the King James it says, he will keep me in the secret place of his pavilion. He will hide me from the strife of tongues. What's that got to do with meditation? Well, yesterday I'm looking for, I needed one more quote, so I'm reading all these meditation quotes by swamis, and they all have like long Indian names, and I try to just pepper my stuff a little bit with that because we're coming from a Christian paradigm, so I'm not pretending like I'm Hindu, or I'm not trying to make y'all Hindu. I'm saying there are things from other belief systems that will validate what we already believe. So as I'm reading, and there's a lot of websites that have got quotes about meditation, and so much of it is about detach from your ego, detach from your thoughts, get out of your head, get out of your thoughts, get out of your feelings. And I thought, man, most of the counseling I've done in 46 years of ministry is people just being obsessed with stuff they feel and who hurt their feelings and who was upset at who and church splits and, oh, Lord, just crazy stuff. Let me say it this way. Some Christians I've known in my life would have been well served to meditate a little. If it would get you out of your walking around with a chip on your shoulder and obsessing over every little infraction, every little thing, oh my Lord. I mean, I don't know how much experience you've had with it, but church people, in like really old school church people, are some of the most trivial, unhappy, easily offended. Like even out in the world, good friends will love each other and go get drunk together and beat the crap out of each other, and the next day they make up. Not in church world. Not in church world. Oh my God. It's so funny. I look in my memories that come up in Facebook. There was a couple of today, people that don't even speak to me now, who a few years ago were said, Bishop, you threw down on that word last night. And I think, wow, it would really be passive aggressive of me to share this. Just to say, how do you like me now? But I'm not even mad at them. That's just the nature of the system. Church splits. And I saw a meme this week. It was brilliant. It was, it said something about 41,000 Christian denominations can't be all wrong. And that's a trip. Over 40,000 denominations who have split over 27 books in the New Testament. I'm not just talking about Catholics versus Protestants. I mean, even, I've told you this before, the kind of Pentecostal that Eddie was a different planet from the Pentecostal I was. Trinitarians thought, those oneness people, we were like, ooh, I don't even know if they can be saved. They're given over to reprobate minds. And one reason I don't miss baptizing people now, because I got so tired of people obsessing over how you do it. That's why, I was being tongue-in-cheek when I did it, but when I used to baptize, and I baptized some of y'all, I would immerse you. I baptize you in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost. In the name of Jesus, bring you up and sprinkle you. I'm like, is everybody happy now? Because this is the stuff y'all all fight over. So whichever mode you liked, I just did it. It was brilliant. I'm not sure, and this is going to sound Trumpian in its magnitude of self-aggrandizement here, but I'm not sure that until after I'm gone, I'm not sure people understand the effect that I've had. Not on the whole world, but I've made a little ripple. I've changed some stuff because I hear from people all the time that say, you changed the way that I think about God, the way I think about church, the way I think. And I mean, these are people I've never met. I think, how did I do that? I don't know. I've just watched you from afar, and you tilted my axis. You changed. You completely made me look at it from in a different way. To the point now, I'm nearly too impatient. Like, if I hear, like, I'm not a good counselor for gay people in church who are struggling with, because I just want to go, it's BS. They're telling you you're wasting your time. I mean, read my book if you want to, but just get out of there. But I just think they don't. No, they don't. It's a house of cards. It's nonsense. It's BS. Just leave it. Get out of it. But well, then I don't know what to tell you. I can't tell you how much I get unfriended from from gay people who say, well, you're just not compassionate. No, I'm compassionate. It's just I've had this conversation with 10,000 people, and church world is warped. It's a system that is imploding, and you can't just sit around and hope people like you. If they don't get you, you have to move on. And if you can't find a place, then create your own place and find some people that share your values, and stop worrying about what people think over here because they're just wrong. There's a guy, I haven't even met him. There's a guy I'm friends with on Facebook, and he's really smart. He's a young guy. I don't even know how we became friends, but he's on Facebook every day defending why he doesn't believe in hell. And it's fine. I've shared a couple of his things. I'm like, well, that's really well said. But I'll scroll down and look at his comments, and I think, how do you have the fortitude to have this argument every day? Because after you've said all this stuff, there's still somebody that hadn't read your other stuff that says, Bible says the worm dieth not, weeping and gnashing of teeth. And you think, how many times do you got to say this? He's infinitely patient. Me, I'm just like, block. I can't. I don't have time to contend with your religious insanity, because you're not going to change it. And this is what I learned even back when I started doing schools of the Bible. When I started challenging the ideas of eternal punishment, I found that people it was so ingrained into their psyche that even if you explained it to them, now for people like you who were seekers, I was probably already confirming what you really believed on some level. But for people that need that moral compass of believing in literal hell, even if you explain to them from the scriptures, this is what this word, they'll still say, well, I still believe, Hitler's in hell. So it's just a no-win argument. So now I just think, but you know what? Namaste. Believe what you want to believe. If there's a hell and you don't like me, then I guess I'm going to get mine. So let me have a few days before I'm thrown into the oven. But when you're just on the other side of it, it's hard to... Let me say it this way. When God has smuggled you in and you're in the secret place, it's difficult to explain to people who don't understand where you live. He who abides. How can I explain to somebody, this is where I live. I've already fought these battles. I'm not being impatient with you. You work out your own salvation. I'm just saying I already live in this space. And I love the God that I have. I'm not conflicted about it. I'm not, if you throw me some Bible verses that you think challenges my theology, it doesn't even, I'm a homeowner. It doesn't move me. I'm like a tree planted by the rivers of water.
You abide in that space. All these other people who try to tell you you don't deserve that house that you live in, that you're not welcome in that house, you're already in the house.
Exactly. If you didn't hear what Eddie said, He said, people will tell you you don't deserve to live in that house. You're already there. I already abide. Let me show you this. I just loved these verses. This is Psalm 31:20. This is in the International Standard Version. It says, you will hide them in the secret place of your presence, away from the conspiracies of men. You will hide them in your tent, away from their contentious tongues. This is one thing that I do admire about Eastern people who have lived a meditative life. They're not, at least the ones I have encountered, they're not super touchy. They're very detached from ego. They're centered. There's something about it that I find very attractive. And I'm not converting to another religion. I'm saying I like, there's something you have, there's something in your philosophy that is missing from the people that I grew up with, who seem to be so insecure about their own belief that they just want to fight about it at the drop of a hat. Here's the thing. Once you know that you know that you know that you know something, you don't even need to fight about it. It's like, no, baby, it's not that I'm afraid of the fight. It's like, this is so settled in me, there's no fight in me. It's like Jesus saying, Satan has come to me, but there's nothing in me. Like you can try to punch my buttons and hit all my triggers. I don't have any triggers. I've already been through this. Namaste is not a word that I say. It's a lifestyle. That which is sacred in me honors that which is sacred in you. And I'm not trying to take that away from you.
Maybe when you're trying to convince them, it's because you're trying to.
Absolutely. What Jackie said is when you're trying to convince them is because you're trying to convince yourself. Yes, exactly. Once you are convinced, there's no argument. And furthermore, when Jesus said, "No man comes unless the Father draws him, no man comes to me," I don't know that you can intellectualize revelation to somebody. Either the light comes on for them for whatever reason, or it doesn't. And if they're not looking for the light, you can't intellectualize them into walking in the light. Here's one of those long names, which what you just said. Thursday night, we came in from Mom and Dad's place, and that's when I pulled out the tree and I said, "Would you help me get this up at least, because he won't be back till tomorrow night." I turned on. This wasn't TCM. This was on TBS. Turned on. It was the end of Wizard of Oz. They must show it on Thanksgiving, and just as I turned it on, it's the end of it when Glenda says, "You've always had the power to go home," and the Scarecrow says, "Why didn't you tell her?" And he said, "And I should have known it." And she said, "Because she wouldn't have believed it. She had to learn it for herself." And I think, man, Glenda, you better preach. Ain't that the truth? There are things that people tried to tell you 25 years ago that you just weren't ready for it. They have to. They have to. They have to learn it for themselves. This is, I like this quote. It says, "When you know that everything that is happening is only appearing on the screen of consciousness, and that you yourself are the screen on which it all appears, nothing can touch you, harm you, or make you afraid." Now, that's not in the Bible, but it ought to be. Because what that's saying is, and I'll say this, thinking correctly about aging. Even today, Marshall, he sang 2 songs about death. He starts with "I'll Fly Away," and the second one, it mentioned about coming to the end of your journey and that sort of thing. And I think, well, you know what? It's a part of the process, Part of me wants to say, don't bring the room down. Let's, give us a... And he did end with, I see you back there. He ended with, "He has made me glad." I thought, okay, good. You got, leave us with some resurrection. But yes, that is a part of it. And we lost Sammy this year. You lost your mom this year. A lot of people have been touched by it. I got to take my dad back to the endodontist tomorrow, and let's try it again. What we went through last week. And I'm like, "Mom, how are we going to do it?" We're going to give him something to settle him down because we can't do this a second time. And Mom even said, "I'm not worried about a thing." I'm like, "Okay, good. I will tap into that current of faith I needed," because that was kind of hard what we went through last week. But it also makes me be patient with him. Because I think, well, I don't know. We went around the room. I just showed those pictures and I had everybody say something. When Dad he's used his linguistic skills enough over the years that when you first hear him talk, he sounds lucid. That's why I said, "Bless the food," and he knows how to do that. He blessed the food, and it was good. Him saying something, I could tell, wow, he doesn't know who anybody in this room is. He knows who I am. He doesn't know who they are, and he doesn't know what to say. And we respected him. We let him, say his thing. But I thought, I won't hear that again on this side. I won't hear his voice say something. Dad had a certain gravitas to his voice, whatever. Like, this is a different time now. And I'm not trying to be maudlin about it. I'm just saying it is what it is. And I'm sure you had to process going through your first Thanksgiving without her. And, I remember the Christmas day. Wasn't Christmas Day that you lost your dad? And right after Linda Curtis had just called me, she had just lost her dad. So it's a very real part of life. It is life. And so, yeah, sing "I'll Fly Away." Doesn't mean we're going to do it right now. And, if we're the generation that changes that, then so be it. But I have learned I don't want to just keep saying I'm going to live a long time. I want to say I want to live a long time and keep all my faculties and have my mind or whatever. And I'm not judging my parents. I'm saying I would say that in front of them. Even Mom will say to me, "I'm so glad you're doing things for your health, because you're going to need it later." Like, exactly. Right. So that, just to say I want to live to 120 years. No, I don't want to sit the last 30 of it in a wheelchair somewhere. I want, if I'm viable, which I believe that I will be, and I think meditation and nutrition and exercise, all that is a part of it. I even read a study this week. I'm not some big major weightlifter, and I've cheated some lately. It's the holidays. I've eaten some. They had banana pudding last night, and Ken made a coconut cake, and I'm like, you know what? What am I going to do? I'm not going to sit there with all his relatives and go, "No, I'm not eating." I'm like, I'm not going to be that guy. When his niece says, "If you had some of my banana pudding," I'm like, "You are the queen of banana pudding." Because that's what you do. But I also read a study just this week that even just light weightlifting cuts your chances of stroke and heart attack nearly in half. Just even working with light weights. So there's so many things you can do to just push back a little bit and to say, let's try to, let's go as long as we can. If 120 is the potential, let me try to get as close to that as I can. And at this point in my life, I believe it's possible. I think I'm healthier at 60 than I was at 50. So, okay, that's, let's believe in some possibilities. But also, I'm saying all that in light of this to say there's some things that just don't matter. You know what I mean? You look at people who were here 20 years ago that were involved in all their drama, whatever. They're totally gone. It's like it doesn't even it doesn't matter what they did. Do you know? It's like they came and they fought with other people for a while, and then they left, and the world kept spinning. You know? Yes. What Francis said, the deal with my grandfather was a confirmation that life goes on. And that's right. He probably feels more alive to me right now than he has in many years. I believe he's in an enlightened state. My grandfather wouldn't be comfortable with me coming out if he was on this side. That would have been very hard for him to get his head around. But I know I've told you the story too many times, but when I had that, it was not a dream. It was a visitation of my 4 grandparents. And when my grandmother looked at me and said, Jim Earl, on that side people think that kind of stuff matters, but on this side it doesn't matter at all. After that, after Addie Mae told me that, I was bulletproof. I was like, I don't care what you like. My grandmama already told me I'm okay. and you become aware. I mean, they don't play hymns at Starbucks. I'm looking at my screen, the word abide. Na, 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 na. What? They're playing Abide with Me at Starbucks while I'm looking at the word abide, thinking about Granddaddy, and it's his favorite hymn? What? Now I'm looking around, there's a homeless guy on the floor. I wish I could tell somebody I'm having nearly an out-of-body experience as I drink my iced coffee. I'm playing it off, but a window just opened to the other side. And life is still going on. It's not, yes.
Thank you.
Y'all stop it. We're not going there. It's coming here. Isn't that what John said at the end of Revelation? I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down as a bride prepared for her husband. And my whole life, I was taught, get out of here. We're going to get out of here. We're going to get out of here. No, it's all coming here. And yes, the more you look, with some of these Buddhist monks that meditated for years and ended up levitating and doing that kind of stuff, well, they were tapping into what Jesus did after the resurrection. He's walking through walls and that kind of stuff. I know it sounds out there, but I'm telling you, you're doing things on a molecular level when you meditate, and you get into a secret place where the other trivial stuff that's not going to matter in the big picture of things, it doesn't matter to you now. Yes, ma'am. We're the second coming. It's not an event. It's us. Absolutely. When somebody says, do you believe in the second coming? Yeah, because I believe in me. My God. That's one reason I'm old school when it comes to loving Christmas. I was listening to in my playlist some of those Charles Wesley, like "Oh Come All You Faithful" and "Hark the Herald." The beautiful lyrics of those things, Veiled in flesh, the Godhead see, hail the incarnate deity, pleased as men with men to dwell, Jesus our Emmanuel. Like that's, oh man, I love that. That's amazing. But it means something to me now much more. It's like Revelation is like being a detective, and you start seeing all these clues. You go, oh, the baby was laid in a manger because, in Italian you say mangia, mangia. It's like it's that Latin root of manger, is M-A-N-G-E-R. It's eating. Well, Jesus, as an adult, says, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you get. And see, we thought it was about communion. I remember clear as a bell walking down Spring Street before I started Metron. I honored every one of those Sundays that we did communion. Those were beautiful. That's where we were at the time. Those were beautiful and necessary transition points for us. And those of you, I know y'all did it a lot. I know Tony, when he was here, he and Wayne did it a lot. I mean, I respect all of that. People who honored what we believed was the body of Christ, and we did that. And I never thought about not doing it. But when I'm walking down Spring Street, nearly to the Varsity, and I'm not thinking about communion, and when Spirit speaks to me, it starts with, I always hear that tone in the voice, and it's never from a conversation I've been having, at least that I'm aware I'm having. Communion wasn't about bread and wine. Like, who said that? And I saw the whole thing. I thought, oh my God, we're aiming way too low. And we're obsessing over something that he's not even talking about now. We had to do it. It had to be part of the journey, no doubt about it. I believe every one of those Sunday afternoons had to happen. I totally believe that. But now I understand, when I can come in before the service starts, and I've got people that I know are in covenant with me, for lack of a better term, and I can just say, can I vent about this, please? Charles, make sure this isn't on make sure my mic's not on, I want this going on and I can say a thing. You know what you're eating my flesh and drinking my blood. You're saying, I know who you are, and I'm going to let you say your stuff about your frustration, because you're human, and then in a few minutes, we're going to hear God come out of your mouth. People that don't know you can't bob and weave with you like that. Right. But those rivers are coming together. Yes. Oh my God. Let me finish with this one. But this very famous Vietnamese monk who says, people usually consider walking on water or in thin air a miracle. But I think the real miracle is not to walk either on water or in thin air, but to walk on earth. Every day we are engaged in a miracle which we don't even recognize. A blue sky, white clouds, green leaves, the black curious eyes of a child, our own two eyes. All is a miracle. Now look, I don't want to take away the miraculous from you. If you need healing or whatever, Doc, I don't know what the latest is about Jackie, but I know she's Jackie Harper. I went to see her in the hospital. So much bad stuff had just happened to her. Broke her arm, shoulder, heart attack. As she's telling me the whole thing, she said, but outside of that, everything, we both started laughing. I said, oh my God. It was like Job saying, all my children have just been killed and blah, blah, blah. But outside of that, everything's good. And Wellington's Memory's aunt or uncle just passed, and then his brother-in-law is in transition. Or not in transition, but in what you need? Oh, I'm good. Thank you, bud. I'm fine. He's trying to find me a tissue. I'm fine. Don't even get me started on that one. But anyway, so I don't want to take away, when you need healing. I mean, I'm not trying to take that away from you. But what I think happened to some of us, we looked so much for the supernatural on the other side that we missed all that was happening. Like we couldn't even appreciate. I've seen these trees change that I can remember 55 times. I'm shocked. I mean, driving over today, I just wanted to pull my car over and just go, oh my God. And yesterday I'm trying, you see them and you try to take a picture with your phone and it doesn't capture it. It's like, no, how could I make people see there was a sidewalk I was walking down that it was kind of going downhill a little bit, and the trees lining it just made this archway over it. It looked like you were going into this fiery tunnel of these. It was just breathtaking, and I photographed it. And I was like, no, that's not it. It It doesn't pick up. It's like it was just amazing. I think, am I going to just get more blown away by everything with every year until finally I just dematerialize and become part of the universe? I don't see any division between me and that. And I know this sounds new age spacey, but you're looking at it and you're thinking, I am that tree. That tree is a part of me. We all came out of we're all made out of the same stardust, whether you call that Let There Be Light or the Big Bang Theory or whatever. It's all, and when the veil is taken away, which often comes through meditation, you start seeing, oh my God, I am surrounded by miracles. And people think you're just being, over the top by thinking speaking with everything in a superlative, like this is so great, but it really is. And when you look at other people who don't see it, they're absorbed with their own depression and their own whatever, and they're like sleepwalking through life, and you think, I don't know, how can I show you the miracles that are just everywhere and that you are a part of it? Yes. What Francis says, when you realize time, everything has heightened importance. Because it's still emotional, even, they're alive, but it's still, that's a natural rite of passage when you lose a loved one. And so you do have to be aware of carpe diem. I've got to seize that day. I've got to... we said this is the day the Lord has made so many years, it just became white noise to us. We don't even think about what we're saying. But it's like, no, every day really is a miracle. Even the ones that are, I knew exactly what you meant. Not only when you said about feeling alone on Thanksgiving, I had already thought about you. I already thought, I bet it's probably a different day but there's nothing I can say to you. I'm like, well, we're all... That's a natural thing that you felt. This is a different Thanksgiving. Doesn't mean it was a bad one. It just means it's different. As a human being, I hear you. I acknowledge it. If I just send a heart back, don't underestimate it. I'm saying, no, I know exactly what you mean. And I get that.
But you don't flinch. You keep walking.
Because you abide. That's back to original thing. That's the point. It's like, if I own the home and a window gets broken, I've got to replace that window. But I'm still here because I abide. So he who dwells in the secret place, Shaddai's shadow. God weans you off of his breast, but the higher power is still there to shelter you, smuggling you in to his secret place. Because there are secrets he's telling you that he can't tell everybody else yet. Whatever was odd or offbeat about you that caused you to be a seeker, good. Good for whatever that thing was in you that made you listen to some preacher somewhere and say, that can't be right. That can't be right. So good for you. I know what mine was. I know what shaped my paradigm. Whatever yours was, good. Yay. Embrace your oddness. Because what it means is God smuggled you in. Man, talk about making you feel special. God could get arrested for smuggling you in. God's breaking the law. That's what Doc Sheila said about Freddie's word. You said, because you texted me later, you said, well, you didn't use all these words, but in the Council of Jerusalem, that's what they decided. Well, they're not going to have to become Jews first and then Christians, because those Jewish believers thought that, well, no, you got to go through Moses' law first. Yeah. So there were people being smuggled in. That's why you can't judge things you don't understand. Why is that person getting so blessed? You don't know. God smuggled him into a secret place, and you can't touch him. You can't touch him. Man, there's such a, I got to shut up, but there's such a appetite for superheroes now. Every one of these superhero movies become instant blockbusters. Remember back in the 80s when Batman came out and it was like such a shock. It was such a big blockbuster. Now they have 2 or 3 of them a year. And just, they're huge. Every one of them's huge. What's his name? The guy that started Spider-Man. He just passed away. Stan Lee. Can you imagine the universe he's created? Because he created Black Panther. He's gone on to another dimension now, and there's all this. Why are people so drawn to things like Comic-Con and that kind of stuff? Because there's something in us that says we want to be. There's got to be more to us than this. There's got to be.
It was attractive to of the burning bush and the parting of the sea and the Noah's Ark and all of those. The whole thing that was supernatural.
Yes.
To those stories.
Yes.
Because we're looking for what we already know.
Well, let me end with this. That's the great thing about the Oz parable, because wanting the brain, wanting the heart, wanting the courage, it was great. But the real thing about the story was there was no place like home. And it doesn't mean you have to settle for home. It means home already was in Technicolor. Do you know what I mean? You already had ruby slippers on. You just never knew it. And that's what, to bring meditation into it, I think meditation removes the barriers till you start saying, oh, I already have everything I need. Yeah. Let's stand. Well, y'all were chatty today. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yes.
Good stuff.
Amen.
All right, because the lateness of the hour, I'm not going to do the official ending. You know what to do. If you have a check, make it to JESM, and they'll receive it back there. If you have cash, you might want to, if you want to bless Marshall, you can do that. Just take a minute and absorb the holiness of this moment. I'm reminded of the scripture in Malachi that says, then they that reverence the Lord spoke often together, and a book of remembrance was kept. Our words today have been transcribed, and now we make our abode in them. Amen. Peace. I love you.